You.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It's great to be back to our second hospitality tomorrow, and thank you and your team for setting this up. Great start from the East, great news from Jasper on the current developments, which will expand on our current panel for China in Focus. We have a great panel today in terms of we have Renee Zhang from Jinmao, who owns 4,300 rooms in China. Then we have Tyrone Tang, who's the vice president of Shimao and chairman and CEO of Shimao Hotels with 30,000 hotels. He'll be joining us speak. And then we have a last minute addition, a nice surprise from Anthony Ross, homegrown in Dubai from JA Hotels and Resorts, who is bringing as well some encouraging news on their current growth into. Now, what is interesting about this discussion, and where I'm very excited to bring this to the audience, is that we've been hearing a lot of around the world bad projections. We're all in the situation where we're trying to cope with all the negatives, mitigate the risks, find operational efficiencies. However, this discussion should be focused on, because right now we're hearing some very positive signs from China. As Jasper indicated, we've had a couple of days for the China labor hospitality and tourism, which has increased tremendously. Therefore, we've invited Renee and Tyrone to give a first-hand note of what actually has transpired during this period, and also how have they coped with the past, the present, and how they're going to cope with the future. Before we go into this discussion, why don't I allow the panelists to introduce themselves in detail to give the audience a better understanding of where they stand. Renee, great to have you, great to see you again. And why don't you provide the audience a introduction of yourself and the company, and then we'll pass it on to Anthony, and hopefully Tyrone will be on the call by then.
Okay, thank you, Renee, and thank you, Anthony. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, it's 2:30 in the afternoon in Shanghai. This is Renee speaking from Shanghai. First of all, let me introduce my corporate I'm working for. Jinmao actually is as a hotel owner, is a listed business trust in Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Our underlying assets is 9 hotels in China. Besides, we have another 3 hotels in our parent company. So altogether, we own 12 hotels in operation, more than 4,300 rooms. Among those 12 hotels, 10 hotels are high-end hotels managed by Hyatt, Marriott, and Hilton, and 2 are self-managed. So among our portfolio, half of the hotels are city hotels in first-tier city in China, such as Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. Another half are resorts in the travel destination, for example, on the tropic beach or in the snow mountain. So our portfolio is quite diversified, ranging from city hotel to the resorts. This is the brief introduction of our company. So personally, I'm in charge of the finance and the management of portfolio hotels, including equity and debt funding, overall operation management, and investor relationships. Additionally, I'm a CHAM designee, so I'm very glad to have a very good opportunity to discuss the future of hospitality in China and in the world in such a very difficult time. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Renee. Might be confusing with Renee. I believe you are the 34th CHAM appointee, is that correct?
Yes.
In the world?
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
For the audience, the CHAM stands for the Certified Hospitality Asset Managers, which has been certified by HAMA and globally. So that's quite an accomplishment, Renee, and we hope to see more CHAM members. Why don't I pass the floor to Anthony. Anthony, great to have you. Glad we connected just half an hour before this call, and glad you could join. Yes. Exciting news, what's happening with JA Resorts. So please, why don't you give an introduction of the company and of yourself.
It's been good to know you for the last 30 minutes, Renee. And Renee, good afternoon. We are a family-owned business based in Dubai. We have 7 hotels in Dubai, which we basically own or operate. We have a resort in the Seychelles, which is a HMA, and we have a beautiful resort in the Maldives, Manafaru, which we own as well. Our interest in China, we've been working on for about between 12 and 18 months. We have a joint venture management company with a Shanghai-based company is formed in Hong Kong and Shanghai, and we aim to open between 30 and 40 hotels over the next 5 years. And to that end, we've created a brand which is focused purely on Chinese millennial travelers called Big Bed. And we start the renovation of our first new Big Bed hotel next week. And soon after that, a month after that, we'll start the renovation of our second Big Bed, also in Shenyang. So our joint venture partner is busily acquiring hotels. Our first 2 acquisitions are actually, and we will turn them into this upper mid-scale brand, Big Bed, focused on Chinese millennials. We're also looking at rolling out our JA brand, which is primarily an upper mid-scale brand in city and resort destinations.
So thank you, Anthony. So you're looking at this period actually as very bullish if you are focusing on growth, especially. But I assume that the growth model was part of a strategy that transpired some time ago.
It was actually. We've been, as I say, we've been working on it between 12 and 18 months. We actually expected to have our first Big Bed open already in March. We delayed that a little bit turnaround. As I said, we start our first renovation. I think our partner, who's actually acquiring, is seeing a lot of interest from state-owned enterprises and from other entrepreneurs in selling or leasing our buildings and taking their risk off. We're seeing some fantastic opportunities. As a matter of fact, our team is, and along with our partner, is out in northeast of China today, looking at 3 or 4 other prospective hotels.
Excellent. So we'll find out from Renee and Tyrone on your strategy, and if they can give any more insights of the current economic status. Renee, why don't we go back a step, and why don't you share with us, how did you actually cope? Did you anticipate the upsurge of the China Labor Day period? Whereas, you know what, according to the Chinese Ministry of Culture, that over the past 5 days of the holiday, travel resumed, consumption bounced back, and there were about 115 million trips, generating up to 6.7 billion revenue for hotels and tourism. Now, these are great numbers, very bullish. Can you give us more? How did you cope, and how did your hotels really do during this period?
Okay, thank you, Renee. Actually, Labor Day holiday in China is a 5-day holiday. So a lot of people come out for tourism. But actually, I think most of the people are not allowed to go outside their hometown because there is some travel restriction, especially in the inter-province. So that's why the business of the resorts near the city the business is very good. Not only in occupancy but also in ADR. Some resorts near Shanghai and Beijing actually has reached their historical high point during the 5 days holiday. But for the city hotels, I think the occupancy in the city hotels are still very low because in the holidays, no MICE, no business guests, 10 to 15%, especially in Shanghai and Beijing. But for those hotel resorts in long distance destinations such as Sanya, the beach, the mountain, people have to take train to go to the destination. The occupancy of those resorts has reached to 60% around. In some area, the occupancy will be higher than 70%. But that is the occupancy. And the ADR, actually in ADR wise, I think the rate in the labor holiday is much lower than before because the hotels actually are taking the strategy of reducing their rate to attract more person to live to stay in the hotel. So that's the pricing strategy of most of the hotels in China. So after the Labor Day holiday, the occupancy in Shanghai and Beijing is coming up because just before the Labor Day holiday, the travel restriction of Beijing has been released. So the people can come out of Beijing and the people can come in Beijing. So we can see that just after the Labor Day holiday, the occupancy of the hotels in Beijing, especially in the CBD and in the central Beijing, I think the occupancy is coming from 10% to 30%. So I think it's a very good signal for those cities. You know that by the end of this month, the Congress, the two meetings, the Congress of China will hold the meeting in Beijing. So we believe that after the Congress, the travel restriction all of China, I think, will be released soon. So I think before the summer holiday I think the more and more person will go out of the doors, go out of their homes for travel and for tourism. So it's the figures. I think it's the figures from the China market. But for the city hotels, I think the future is not still bright, because you know that the hotels, I think the bad situation is still prevailing in worldwide. So most of the city hotels, especially in Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing, especially for the international branded hotel, MICE and the business travelers are their client. The most of clients are from the MICE and the business travelers. So that's why I don't think the future, in the near future, the occupancy of city hotels will go up very fast, because the need for the business traveler is still low, and there are almost no MICE demands in their big cities. It will be still difficult for those city hotels, especially for those city hotels in. That's my opinion from the market of.
Thank you, Renee. So what I'm hearing is that over the holiday period, it was the resort properties that were generating a high return, higher occupancy, yeah, and increased ADR, versus the city hotels, which still need to see an upsurge on their side. But for example, for our side, we haven't even reached that point, although that it's surprising and very encouraging that even our resorts during the month of Ramadan as well have seen an upsurge. Are you prepared for the upsurge, and what can you recommend to other markets how they should prepare? Because we are still scratching at points our heads as to with the COVID disease, how do we prepare ourselves accordingly? Our staff, our guests, how do we lay out the buffet, for example? I mean, it's very simple questions, operational issues. How did you cope with that, and how did you prepare for that?
Yes, first of all, we will get our employees prepared, because for the past 2 months, actually the hotels are taking their no pay leave to their home. So before the Labor Day holiday, we asked the employees to come to the city they are working in, and get prepared for the operation for those hotels. So it's very important, because I think especially in the resorts, the guests, I think they care about the hygiene condition of the hotel, and actually we have taken a lot of extra measures for those employees. We need more employees than usual, although the occupancy is not that high, because we still need more employees in property. So this first preparation for the employees, and the second one is that we have to prepare for some the measures we have to taken to ensure that our hygiene conditions in the hotel. For example, we have to deeply clean the gyms. We have set some areas to taking the temperature of the guests, and then we have to prepare some places for those guests for preparing for the check-in process. So more be ready to comfort those guests waiting in line. So that's the preparation we make. And the third one is that as to the buffet, actually we have opened some part of the buffet, but some foods were taken by the chef, not by the guests themselves. So we have prepared more plates and more OEs for the buffet than normal. Inside the counter, we'll take foods for the guests. And in a restaurant, we reduce some seats in the restaurant, so we can, so the restaurants, I think the space from table to table will be larger than before. And in the tables, we have less guests in one table than before. So for example, as normal, one table, we actually, sometimes we have four people in one table, but in this special period, we have 3 or 2 people in one table. Or if 4 people, we will take them a larger table for them, so that they can have some distance between among each other. And actually, from the operation, especially from the experience of the Labor Day holiday, we found that the guests are care more about the hygiene condition of the hotels. They ask a lot of questions about what measure the hotels take to protect them from quite a lot of employees will spend the time to persuade or to comfort the guests that our condition, our hygiene condition in the hotels are okay. So I think that's the operation itself, I think, is more busy than before, than usual, because the guests need more care and need more explanation to what.
Thank you, Renee. So why don't I ask Anthony, how are your properties doing, and how are you currently? Can you confirm what Renee has been saying about the operational measures taken there? You've got some very iconic resorts, right? And why don't you share with the audience how you are currently operating and what measures you've put in place?
Actually, at the moment, our island properties are both closed in Seychelles and Maldives. Here in Dubai, we have 3 hotels partially open. And the Dubai government has very stringent measures still in place about how to take care of hygiene, particularly in a food and beverage environment. Actually, buffets are not allowed. Disposable chinaware, flatware has to be used in all restaurants. So, of course, we're just complying with all of the regulations as they are at the moment in taking care of our customers. We're hopeful very soon that we'll be able to. We have a beautiful resort with 1 million square meters of space and a whole bunch of experiences like golf and a marina, horse riding, and so on. So we're hopeful very soon that we can start our staycation business out there once schools and beaches are reopened, and then we will be going back to serving breakfast the way it used to be done. I think for the foreseeable future, at least. Here in Dubai, buffets are a thing of the past, which means people may have to find something else to do instead of.
Well, that will be a big change for Dubai. Our Friday brunches were quite iconic. But let's revert back to China. It's very encouraging to hear a homegrown UAE Dubai company making such growth plans into China. Has the current crisis changed your outlook in a strategy, or do you still remain very bullish and you just see this crisis as a period?
No, I think it's the latter, particularly in China. Listen, I think even here in Dubai, our view is that the first to recover, and I think most people are saying this, the first to recover is going to be domestic travel. And so when you look at China, you're thinking 1.3 billion people and a massive domestic market. For instance, Beijing has over 300 million domestic tourism arrivals and only 3.8 international. Shanghai has 36 million domestic tourism arrivals and 8.9 international. So, the success of the relaunch of tourism and hospitality in China depends on the local market, and the local market has already started to travel again. Now, we know that international luxury 5-star hotels in the main cities are still struggling because international corporate travel hasn't restarted. But we hear that, as Renee just said, resorts are already starting to do very well again because there is pent-up demand and people have been in their houses for a number of months. And we're also hearing that mid-scale, upper mid-scale branded hotels are starting to see pick up in cities as well. So, I think China's a very resilient place. It's a very business-focused place, and it won't be long before things start to head towards normality.
So when we talk about not being too long, why don't we give the audience your professional predictions? If you the sentiment of the current market changes, Renee, how long do you think it will take for China, specifically China, to stabilize occupancy in ADR?
I think it depends. For those resorts, we hope that it will go up when the summer holiday is coming, because I think in this summer holiday, no parents will take their children go outside, go abroad for travel, so they are restricted to in the domestic destination. So I believe that in the summer holiday, I think the ADR and the occupancy will going up for those resorts. But for the city hotels, especially for those hotels for the business travelers, I don't think this year will have any opportunity for them to recover to the normal because in this year I think MICE is MICE for those cities is a very big market segment. But MICE for this year, I don't think any opportunity in it. Although the China actually in China before the Labor Day holiday, the China government officially announced that the exhibitions and the meetings can be restarted in China. And you know that Disneyland has reopened. I think this is the first Disneyland reopened in the world. So I think for the resorts, it's okay. I think the summer holiday is a good opportunity, but for the city hotels, I'm a little pessimistic about in the near business hotels. I would guess most of the global companies or from the local branch of the global companies. But actually, we can say that the situation now, actually, a lot of company has been hurt in nature. And the need for the business travel, I think, is reducing. And the second one is the MICE. The more important is MICE market is reducing. Actually, no need in MICE. So I think for those city hotels, I don't think it will recover to normal in this year. So we hope that all the exhibitions, all the meetings, or all the conferences will be held in the year of 2021. So we hope that the next year will be a very good year for those city hotels.
Correct, and congratulations on the good news of the Shanghai Disney opening, because that indeed is a great indication of how matters are progressing in the right direction. Anthony, some final words, and where's your crystal ball? Where does that lie?
Well, first of all, I think I agree with what Renee said about City Hotel. Focus is on upper mid-scale brand, and I think there is obviously economic fallout from this, and I think people are going to be watching travel budgets. So I think, coming up with a brand that is affordable and offers great value for money, and it's really just a rooms product. We do have a small food and beverage element, but we're trying to create a brand that's hyper efficient to operate, really targeted and designed for Chinese millennials, and put into the market at the right price. And I think those kinds of hotels are going to be the first to recover. Perhaps, dare I say it, faster than the large international luxury or five-star brands. So, we would be hopeful that by the end of the year, we'll start to see some take up of our new brand. We're hoping to open the first one in October. So, we think that's pretty good timing.
Excellent. So actually, your diversification strategy or your growth strategy is actually going to be right on par when to catch the wave of the upturn. So we
hope so. I think also, Renee, the other thing about it is that there's some great opportunities for acquisitions in the market, not just in China, but particularly in China. I think there's a lot of state-owned enterprises that manage a lot of hotel rooms, own a lot of hotel rooms, and they're probably coming to the conclusion that the hotel business is maybe not as simple as they thought, and maybe it's time to look at diversifying. No,
correct. We're seeing from our side a lot of opportunities for acquisitions and mergers and acquisitions. But listen, unfortunately, our time has come to an end. Tyrone sends his very best. He's had some technical difficulties. But thank you, Renee. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Jonathan. Wonderful again for another great event. And it's going to be a long day for, I think it's going to be another 11 hours, correct, Jonathan?
We're going for it. It's a big marathon, René. René, I never introduced you to begin with. René heads up Beaufort Capital, and obviously involved in, as he was saying, getting involved in acquisitions and development opportunities in the Middle East and Africa, and also works on HAMA as well, the Hospitality Asset Managers Association. So, René, thank you for putting this